Welcome, my fellow Americans. I'm Bill Lipinski, and this is Two Guys on Politics. And the number one guy on politics is up next, my buddy, my friend, Ray Hanania.
And I have to say that Bill and I are friends. I've known him since the mid 1970s. I think we first met in 1976.
Right.
Me as a Cub reporter with the Southtown, you as a committeeman and alderman for the city of Chicago. And I am Ray Hanania, and this is Two Guys on Politics. It's September 11th, a hallowed day in American history, 23 years since that terrorist attack. And this is season 3, episode 28 of Two Guys on Politics. And we're going to talk about the Trump-Harris debate. What did you saw the debate? What did you think of it
First
overall?
Of all, let me say that I was on a plane headed for Washington. We had not taken off yet at O'Hare Airport when we got the news of the towers being attacked. So that's where I was. That's how I found out. We never did take off. I wound up going home that day. Where were you that day?
I was being chased by FBI agents and police SWAT teams trying to track me down to see where I was. Fortunately, I had an alibi. I was with my wife, who was Jewish, and they left me alone. There were no problems. Actually, I was on my way to work when I heard about the first report. I think it was on WBEZ, and they said the first report was a small plane hit one of the Twin Towers. And I'm thinking, oh, God, next thing you know, they're going to blame it on the Arabs. And sure enough, it went from a small plane to a commercial plane, then another commercial plane. And, as we all know, 4 of them. And they were terrorists from the Middle East with Al-Qaeda.
I tell you,
and we kept.
Go ahead. Go finish yours.
No, I was going to say we got them all. We got the ringleader, Osama bin Laden. But it just, to me, the only bad thing about the whole topic is, Arabs, Americans got blamed for, by guilt by association, even though, a lot of Arab Americans fought in the military for the U.S. My dad in the Army, my uncle in the Navy, my brother, U.S. Marines, me in the Air Force, pretty much have all 4 major military organizations covered, just in my recent family. But, that was a downside. It kind of fueled a lot of hatred against Arab Americans. And they still haven't recovered to realize that their story, they have to tell it. It's not up to you, Bill, to go out and read and learn about my story. I have to tell my story so that you and others can understand it easily and in the context of your daily life. You got so many things you have to do. It's not your responsibility to know who we are. So that's been a mission of mine since September 11th to help change that.
That's a very worthwhile mission, and you are absolutely correct. That's what has to be done for the Arabs to be better accepted in this country. As I say, I was on a plane going to Washington. We had not taken off as of yet. We got the word, and my chief of staff called me and said that they contacted the Chicago police, and the Chicago police were going to come out to my airplane. It was actually on the runway and take me off because I was a congressman. And I said, well, that's good. I'm very happy about it. As soon as I got off of the phone, though, I got up from my seat. I went up to the pilot and I said to the pilot, now here's what's happening. I would strongly recommend to you, that you say that I'm on this plane. There is a police car coming out to get me, because I say, if you say nothing and people start seeing this police car racing out to the plane, they're going to be afraid that there are terrorists on this plane. So I says, he said, that's a good idea. And they did do that. And because everybody was in such a patriotic spirit, when I got up and walked off the plane, they all applauded me for no reason whatsoever, other than I was a member of the United States House of Representatives. So that's the story about then. It was a terrible, tragic day. I don't really think this country recovered from that as of yet. but life does go on. And let's talk about the great debate that
And
occurred last night.
Yeah, and life advances, right, Bill? We go from that tragedy to what? This great moment in history where we
Absolutely.
have Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. My wife has been yelling at me about not pronouncing her name properly, Kamala Harris. So it's Kamala Harris. I'm trying to get it right. I have to force myself to learn her name, of course, even though I knew nothing about her until about 8 weeks ago. But yeah, we have this first debate. And so what'd you think of that debate? What'd you think?
What did I think? Okay. My first impression is that Donald Trump was worse than ever, in my opinion. Now, some people
Okay.
disagree with me on that, but I thought he was worse than ever. I thought he was good for the first 15, 20 minutes. Then she got underneath his skin, and all he could do then was rant and rave about his crowd was bigger than anybody else's crowd. And all these petty, insignificant, unimportant things that he talked about. Now, she smiled, looked good, looked friendly. The moderators, both the male and the female, were certainly on her side. I don't think they ever asked her a follow-up question. They asked poor Donald Trump follow-up questions all the time. And and at times, I hate to say this, but at times he reminded me of Joe Biden in the last debate, because he didn't seem like he quite understood the follow-up question. But so be it. Kamala did not give me one single policy in any kind of detail that she is going to implement as president. I do know that she's going to cost me a lot more tax money, because she's going to be giving away money for housing for people. She's going to be giving away money for people to take care of children. And I never understand this. Why do people have children if they decide then that they have to go to work, to support that child? So they have to get money from the federal government to allow them to go to work. I don't understand that, but so be it. And then the last one, I think, was on abortion. She never really said anything particular about that, but they asked her this question, and she said, I'm going to, they wanted to know her position on all of these things. She says, I am going to answer that question in full, in complete detail on each one of those issues. But I want you to understand that my values have never changed. They have always been in the same place. And she just went on and on and on and on. She never got around to telling us really where she stood on any of these particular issues. So I came away with, all I know is that whatever policies she introduces, it's going to cost the American taxpayer more money to take care of people who I don't really know if they need to be taken care of or not. It might be like the COVID. There was so much money given to people who didn't need it, but nevertheless, they took it because it was free government money. Of course, that free government money comes out of your pocket, comes out of my pocket, and comes out of the pocket of all the other Americans who pay federal tax, state tax, local tax. So my impression is that she won the debate because Trump simply cannot stay on message. She looked nice. She has a great smile. She did not tell us any particular details of her program. That way she doesn't alienate anybody. Trump certainly played to his base. He's got his base nice and solid. They're all behind him. All they can talk about today is how unfair the news media is to him, unfair the moderators were to him. Fine. But that doesn't gain him one single more vote. So I think it's going to be extremely difficult for him to win the election. The floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with a lot of what you said. I don't think Trump was as bad as he could have been. I think he's much more combative. I think he restrained himself. But that's not a positive. I'm not saying that's a great asset or a great achievement on his part. He never got his message out clearly. He was reactive. He reacted more to her. But she made some very provocative, comments and statements. So when he was trying to respond to it, he just can't get past that. And, you know, he's not really a politician. He's more of a person. And when somebody says something about you, there's a human tendency to want to correct them. And she kind of played into that. On the other hand, I think this debate was worthless in terms of issues. There were no issues that were really discussed of any depth. The only benefit was for Kamala Harris to present herself in a way where she did get tripped up, and she was able to show that even though she was part of the Biden administration, she doesn't suffer from Bidenitis. So she's able to have a coherent discussion with somebody, even though she made a few mentions of some things she wanted to do. And I agree with you. They all sound great, but when you start looking at them, it's just going to cost us, the taxpayers, a fortune. $6,000 for the first year of a child's life. That's not just for any child that's born. That's only for children and families that are needy, that are low income. $25,000 down payment for first-time home buyers, not just for first-time home buyers who are under the low income level and need the money. $50,000 tax deduction to small businesses. I don't know how that helps the economy. I mean, I think it's great to help, you know, small businesses, but is that a plan to help our economy? Because the cost of eggs have tripled, milk has doubled, meat has tripled. The grocery store is like painful to go buy food that I used to really enjoy. It's forcing me to go back on a diet, and I can afford it. I don't know how the majority of Americans can afford to go to the store. And then they keep misleading everybody when they say that, you know, Biden put a $2,000 cap on prescriptions for seniors, capped the insulin costs to $35. That was Trump's plan. He introduced it. The Democrats fought him over it. And then when Biden came into office, he implemented the same exact plan. And it wasn't until 2 weeks ago that they decided to put caps on prescriptions and address the, quote, ugly donut hole that everybody complains about. So these seem like opportunistic headlines with no facts. The only thing that came out of this debate was Kamala Harris can say, I can stand on my 2 feet, I can debate Donald Trump, and I won't trip up like Joe Biden. That is the low level that we've been forced to accept in our candidates for president, that they're acceptable. But I didn't hear any substantive ideas. They were both asked, what's your idea to help the economy? What's your idea to find jobs or improve healthcare? There wasn't any ideas that were discussed. And I do blame the media, and I'll stop here, but I do blame the media because this debate was not a presidential debate commission debate. This was an ABC TV news debate organized by ABC TV with all its biases. And in today's debates, they don't talk about substance. But I know that you and I remember from 10 years ago and before, when they had debates, the debates were themed. This debate was on the economy. That debate was on foreign policy. This debate was going to be on, you know, whatever. So it really was more of a fluff to help the supporters of each candidate and nothing more.
You were talking about the money for housing, the money for childcare. What is the threshold there of people who are eligible to receive this money? Do you know?
It doesn't, I can't get the details on it because these are ideas that just like the Biden's and Harris's prescription plan, you know, they want to put a $2,000 cap on prescriptions for seniors. It's spelled out. It just came out last week. They just announced it. And to me, it sounds like, okay, who's going to pay for that? You know, where's the money going to come from? How are they going to make that real? I want them to go back and take the tax off of Social Security. I can deal with the prescriptions because we've been dealing with for the last 10 years. But Social Security, I'm really worried about that. So they're throwing some bones that don't have a lot of meat on them.
I'm not so sure that there is any restriction on how much money you can make if you're first-time home buyer. I have not, there may be, but I have not read, that because Ray, you make $500,000 a year. If you were a first-time homeowner, you could still get compensated for
$25,000?
Yeah.
They're gonna give me $25,000 to make a payment for my first home that I bought. Obviously, that was a long time ago.
Right.
And at a time when I never even made that much money. I was working at the Southtown for like $20,000 a year.
And I think
25,000 would have been more than my whole income.
this should probably be retroactive. You and I should be entitled to this.
Yes,
I mean, there was a time when we bought our first home.
yeah. Nobody gave us
25,000 would
anything.
have paid for my first home, and I would have had money
Yeah.
left over to furnish it.
Yes. Well, this is about headlines and addressing what the media wants them to address. Trump doesn't get it because the media doesn't like him, but Harris does. And she threw in a couple things and, oh, they sound great and blah, blah, blah. But honestly, when the day is over, I didn't feel like there was anything that resonated with me that's going to change my life at all. So apparently, neither of them were really talking to me. They don't want my vote. So I guess I'm going to have to give it to Jill Stein. She's the only one talking to me that I think so. And why wasn't she in the debate? What is this whole thing about only they decide, the media decides who's going to be our presidential candidates, and
I don't
that's
think it
it?
was the media. I think it was the candidates, Trump and Harris. I think they decided who were going to be involved in this debate.
Well, that's because ABC News is the one that hosted it and talked to both of them and nobody else, and they want them so bad. Listen, ABC News, if they were really objective, and I think they are I think David Muir is probably one of the best journalists in the country. I think he's very fair. He's the only one that I really watch when it comes to national news. I turn off Good Morning America as fast as it comes on. I refuse to watch that crappy news program. But I think he's fair. But when the news media says we're going to host a debate, what do you think and they allow the two candidates to tell them who's going to be in it? That's really pathetic to me. That's so pathetic. And he did a good job. What was the other woman, the journalist that the debate?
I forget her name right now.
And
David Muir.
She was like so pro Harris. It was pathetic.
Well, she's a left winger. There's no question about it. I've heard her.
Oh my gosh, it was just terrible.
She's probably a progressive Democrat. I mean, no, certainly she should not have been on the panel questioning this, because she was definitely in Harris's camp. Well, I just believe that it's an insult to the American people to have a debate such as this, and to have two candidates handle it in the fashion that they did. You learned nothing from it new. I learned nothing from it new. It was a waste, but I sat there and I listened to all of it because I felt, as an American citizen, I have an obligation to know who these two people are. They're going to be, one of them is going to be president of the United States for the next 4 years. But I don't know any more about him today than I knew about him the other day, other than the fact she could stand up to Trump. That was the only thing. And she had people helping her in the news media stand up to him.
Yeah, and that the woman host, the MC at ABC, is Lindsay Davis. That was her name. She's the anchor of the evening newscast, ABC News Live Prime, which I don't watch. I just want you to be honest. I don't watch it. Like I said, I will watch David Muir. I think he does his best to be fair. And he was criticized. People said that he didn't challenge Trump enough. I didn't think they challenged Harris much at all, but he was being attacked for not challenging Trump enough because he's fair and he's a good guy. He didn't play along with the strategy that was being pushed by the far left. So yeah, it's 2 hours of, I don't know what, entertainment maybe, but it's a sad story for our country that's where we're at today, that we accept that and say, oh, that's high quality. It's not high quality. It's low quality.
Well, poor David Muir could not ask any follow-up questions and go after Trump, because his partner was doing it so repeatedly, uh,
Yes.
and so extensively, there was no time
Yes.
for him to do it.
Yes. And I think maybe there was even a little intimidation, him seeing that he didn't want to, jump all over Trump with Lindsey jumping all over him, because then it really would have looked like the news media piling on him.
Yes.
But clearly, I thought they gave Harris kind of a pass. There was some challenge on fracking, which was because the debate was in Pennsylvania. Fracking is a big deal, I guess, over there, and maybe in a couple other states. She flip-flopped or whatever. That's what I gathered from it. But really, I will say this. The debate did reinforce what the supporters already believe about their candidates. Donald Trump is against criminals. He's against illegal immigration. And he believes in pushing and improving the economy in his way. Kamala Harris doesn't want to identify with anything that the Biden administration has really kind of pushed, but she does stand up for abortion. She wants to bring it nationally. So her supporters, obviously, that want abortion to become national law rather than decided by voters, they're going to support her. That was a big issue, and she hammered that home. And then she also criticized Trump the way her supporters want to hear him being criticized. So they each did what they wanted to for their followers. I don't know about people in the middle. I certainly don't think either candidate is going to appeal to that large group of Arab, Muslim, and pro-Palestinian vote they were mostly Democrats who said they're not going to vote for either one of them. And it's going to be interesting to see how that impacts the election. In fact, this weekend, I'm going to Dearborn, Michigan, to cover a conference where that's going to be the focus of it. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
That'll be very interesting. Absolutely. Well, I just think it was, I did my duty. I watched it all. I learned nothing new whatsoever, other than that she can stand up to Trump. She can get underneath his skin. And that was it. I mean, it upsets me that you can have someone running for president being supported by as many people and as many people in the media as she is being supported. And I don't know really what her policies are going to be, other than to spend for certain things that she thinks are important.
I really wish they would have organized a debate around, they had 4 hours. They could have picked 4 topics, half hour each: immigration, the economy, abortion. They could have picked 2 issues from each side and allowed the candidates to go at it on each issue in their own way without being moderated or interfered by the debate media people. I think that would have been a much better debate. At least we would have gotten an idea of because they asked him, Trump, what are you going to do? And he goes, what I've always done. I'm the greatest person in the world. I'm the greatest, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, oh my gosh, this guy's ego is so much bigger than the programs and the deficit in this country. And then they'd ask Harris, what are you going to do? And they didn't spell out anything. She threw out a couple headlines, more than he did. Yes. I mean, at least she said, we're going to have the $25,000 child, the $6,000 child care, $25,000 first-time mortgage people, home buyers. At least she threw a couple ideas out there, but those are so vague. And I don't know how that helps me as a voter. It doesn't. It does help a certain constituency, but I'm worried about crime. I'm worried about immigration. Those are the 2 things that concern me, and the debate hasn't changed any of that at all.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Trump, for the most part, he just says, I'm the greatest in the world. I'm the greatest president. Yes. I'll take care of all of that stuff. You don't have to worry about any of the details. I'll take care of it. Now I'm going to stop that war between the Russia and the Ukraine. I'm going to call up Putin, and I'm going to talk to him. And that'll be, if I was still in office, he would have never attacked. But Joe was weak, so that's why he attacked. I mean, he can certainly spin good stories. There's no question about it.
It's not even good. It's old.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I think his stories are getting old.
Yes,
And I think he doesn't realize that doesn't mean that she's any better. She's just playing off the fact that there's a growing group of people that don't like him, and she's pandering to that group of voters.
Well, do
I
you
wish
think,
it was.
do you think that his presentation yesterday won him any new support?
No.
Okay.
I don't think hers did either.
Well,
I
see,
think
no,
it made her people feel better who came out of the last debate with Biden, one of the greatest shocks in Democratic political history. I don't think anybody expected how devastated the Democratic Party would be as a result of Biden's performance on stage that day, and I was there in Atlanta when it happened, and it was like shocking. But now they feel relief. You know, they weren't going to have any more debates, but now that they feel relief, the Democrats are saying, oh, we need more debates. Let's have more debates. I wish they'd be substantive debates run by the Presidential Debate Commission rather than by the media and rather than by the politicians, the
yes,
political parties.
I agree.
All right, Bill, another depressing ending to a podcast, Two Guys on Politics. The only good thing I feel about in this conversation was we got to pay tribute to the people, to commemorate those people who died on September 11th. Save that. All the discussion we had today is very depressing. It doesn't make me feel good. Doesn't strengthen my confidence in the future of what's going to happen in this country. I'm really worried and I'm very concerned.
I keep asking myself, how can a country of well-educated people, 350 million of them, wind up with two people such as this as the leading contenders for the presidency of the United States? It's really beyond my comprehension. Until next time,
right.
I'm Bill Lipinski, and the other fellow, go ahead, Ray.
And I'm Ray Hanania, and this is Two Guys on Politics. All you people, thank you so much for listening to us. Remember, twoguysonpolitics.com. We're on YouTube. We do appreciate all those people who follow us and listen to the podcast. And of course, we'd love for you to comment. And when you do comment, we'll try to mention some of those comments if you want on our next podcast. Thank you so much, Bill. Thank you.
Good day.